there will be more and brighter fires. Our defense forces are able to strike accurately at enemy territory also thanks to the Partisan movement. Mikhailo Manalyuk spoke with the coordinator of the scouts who are actively fighting against the Russians, reminding everyone that Crimea or any other occupied place is Ukraine.
The railway section connecting the occupied Crimea with Kherson region has been damaged. Agents of the Tej movement reported a sabotage near Simferopol in recent days. Trains were temporarily halted, and as a result, the Russians were unable to deliver ammunition, fuel, and equipment to their troops on time. In footage from the Kursk region, partisans completely burned down a relay cabinet on a tower, paralyzing communications. As a result, the occupying forces responsible for logistics and border security with Ukraine were unable to transmit important data and coordinates to their units. Meanwhile, members of the resistance movement near temporarily occupied Berdyansk are destroying a fuel tanker and a vehicle belonging to Russian soldiers. This is also a military partisan movement that is actively conducting reconnaissance and essentially fighting against the Russians in the occupied territories of Ukraine and even within Russia itself. This volunteer unit was created by Ukrainians and Crimean Tatars in September 2022 after the full-scale Russian invasion. And even then it became clear that it would be difficult for the Rashists to fight on foreign soil.
These are the people who believe in Ukraine's victory. There are actually many factors why people help and support Ukraine, and they are different for everyone. Each person has their own reasons. But above all, it is truly the faith in Ukraine, in Ukrainian victory.
Russians can't hide. This is the slogan of the ATZH movement. And indeed, just in the past few weeks, the partisans have accomplished a lot. They scouted the base of Russian special forces who guard the Crimean Bridge. They passed information to the defense forces about a Russian S-400 complex in the Leningrad region. The question arises, how do they manage to do all this if the Russians are constantly on duty and, it would seem, not even a mouse could slip by?
This kind of work is ongoing. It is carried out regularly. Thanks to this valuable information, no enemy and no military facility of theirs can truly be considered safe.
The coordinator of Tej personally told us more about the movement and its activities. For safety reasons, he does not show his face and disguises his real voice.
There is a constant and ever-present danger, and we are considered to be a highly undesirable and unwelcome target for the Russian special services. That is precisely why we cannot ever truly be safe in any city, no matter where we go. The threat is always there, and it follows us everywhere.
It is difficult and dangerous to be where the enemy is, especially in their very lair. At any moment you could be exposed, and then the consequences would be terrible. But despite everything, the partisans do their job very skillfully. At the beginning of this year, in the Holopristan district of Kherson region, scouts discovered boats used for crossing the Dnipro River. All the information was provided to them, so to speak, by their own Russian serviceman. He
clearly told us the structure, where the smaller depots were and where the main depot was. We received this information, passed it on to the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine, and on January 1st, a strike was carried out. A village boat was destroyed, as well as the guards, Russian military personnel.
Among the latest successes are strikes on oil depots in Crimea, Luhansk, and elsewhere.
There we actively conducted reconnaissance, actively posted on social networks, and in fact there have been many such cases. We carry out sabotage operations. We destroy both equipment and vehicles. We are especially active in the Kherson region.
The movement is also in constant contact with Ukraine's defense forces. The information provided by the partisans is thoroughly verified by special services, and only then do they strike devastatingly at the occupiers. This includes operations on Russian territory as well. We see videos of military facilities, ammunition depots, and oil refineries burning every day.
Intelligence uses many sources to confirm information. There are citizens living in Russia who truly care about the situation and do not support this war. These people support Ukraine and its people, and they also hope for Russia to change for the better, wishing for their country to become a new and different nation in the future.
Why specifically our service? Because even many members of Ukraine's defense forces do not always have the opportunity to conduct such reconnaissance directly from the area and gather all the important details not only from satellites but also directly from the ground.
But new people who want to help bring Ukraine's victory closer are also regularly reaching out, the movement's coordinator says. However, he admits that the number of those willing to take risks is decreasing, particularly due to the intensification of Russian terror and the threat to their own lives and those of their loved ones. But despite everything, the partisans will continue their work.
In the next few weeks, we will be able to share the results with you as soon as possible. Those who are present at this moment,
Who are currently in preparation or some actions being carried out.
In fact, Ukraine is systematically turning off the lights for the Russians. Belgorod, Voronezh and Taganrog are already sitting in the dark. And that's not all. The port of Tuapse has halted fuel exports. See what a nice little rhyme that turned out to be.
Well, even without rhymes, the Tuapse oil refinery has stopped processing crude oil. After the strikes by Ukrainian drones, the Volgograd oil refinery stopped operating. Its processing unit was damaged. How do Ukrainian long-range sanctions work? Vlad Palivoda will tell us now.
Belgorod, Voronezh and Ganrok are just the beginning. They are united by powerful explosions, large-scale and bright fires, and blaring air raid sirens. And also the genuine surprise and fear of Russians.
They are terrifying.
Ukrainian soldiers have shown the Russians that this game can be played by two. Our drones and missiles are striking various regions of Russia more and more often. A massive explosion last week occurred at the port of Tuapse. According to preliminary information, our naval drones stopped fuel exports there. And this is already Russian Voronezh. Here, unidentified drones attacked CHP-1. After the strike, part of the city was left without electricity. There is significant destruction at the CHP itself.
No, well, I was expecting 3, but 4 came. In
Local public forums at this time, there was real panic. For some reason, Russians don't understand why explosions are happening in their cities.
Don't mention the districts.
What was that explosion? Everyone got scared.
Enemy energy infrastructure has become a target for Ukrainian drones more than once. These are the consequences of the strike on Belgorod. The only light left there was from the massive fire at the CHP. Russian oil refineries also remain in the crosshairs of the defense forces. One of the latest strikes halted the operation of a major oil refinery in the Volgograd region, according to Reuters. Drones also hit one of the key enterprises of the Russian petrochemical industry, the Stolitomak petrochemical plant. This strike was confirmed by the main intelligence directorate, HUR.
The plant manufactures products for the needs of the Russian occupation army and the military-industrial complex, specifically ionol, aviation gasoline and synthetic polymers, according to a statement from the HUR of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine.
Russian defense industry enterprises and ammunition depots are also exploding in abundance. Here, for example, are footage of the strike on Kovka with munitions in temporarily occupied Crimea. And this, according to open-source intelligence, is the destruction of warehouses with Shaheds at Donetsk airport. Our military also showed the video. And over the past year, Ukraine has made significant progress in developing long-range drones and missiles. According to experts, more than 200 attacks have been carried out on Russian targets. Flamingo, Lyuti, Peklo, Neptune and other Ukrainian weapons are already striking fear into the residents of the Federation. But our side emphasizes that Ukraine attacks only enemy military targets or those connected to them. It is important to stress that, in carrying out the tasks set by the President of Ukraine, we are striking only legitimate targets, oil extraction and oil refining facilities. This is 90% of the budget of the Russian Ministry of Defense. In other words, these are dirty oil rubles with which the enemy kills us. Vasyl Malyak, head of the security service of Ukraine. With each such strike, the problem for the Federation grows. In several regions of the Russian Federation, fuel shortages have long been recorded. At gas stations, there are kilometer-long lines. People wait for hours just to fill up at least 20 liters of fuel. According to the Security Service of Ukraine, our attacks have led to a 90% reduction in oil production in Russia. All of this delivers a rather serious blow to the Russian economy.
Russia cannot make a decision about what to do with its crude oil, which, quite obviously, should be exported more to foreign markets. But as statistics show, on the contrary, there is actually a significant drop in crude oil exports from Russia by almost 22 to 23%. In fact, these are kind of conditional sanctions that will have a strategic impact, because this reduces Russia's ability to earn money for, in fact, years to come.
And this is also psychological pressure on Russians. They are beginning to realize that the war has now come to their own homes and there are fewer and fewer safe places left.
These are specialists. These are the people involved in the military-industrial complex, meaning it's a constant sense of threat and the constant feeling that you could be the next target. Let's not forget that. For Putin, it was extremely important to show that the war is somewhere far away, that the fighting is happening over there, but if these blackouts start appearing across Russia, even if for now it's still relatively rare, it nevertheless creates quite a serious discomfort.
Due to reduced power generation and blackouts, work at enterprises, including military ones, comes to a halt. Considering that the Russian energy system is centralized, a strike on one link affects the entire network, which in Russia is already not in the best condition.
They are now deliberately tightening this energy ring, which refers to a network of interconnected power lines and supporting infrastructure directly around Moscow. This action is gradually reducing the capacity for both electricity supply and generation to the Russian capital, making it more difficult for the city to maintain a stable and reliable flow of electrical power. All of this is gradually leading us toward organizing an almost blackout in Moscow. It's definitely not something that will happen tomorrow, but such steps are quite clear from recent actions.
Striking military depots in the enemy's rear also remains important. This way, our defenders destroy the aggressor's strike assets before they can be launched toward Ukraine. Moreover, this also affects the actions of the occupiers on the battlefield.
This leads not only to casualties, but also to the destruction of their ammunition stockpiles. This leads to the fact that the enemy has nowhere to service and store such ammunition, or to concentrate larger amounts of munitions at those arsenals that, let's say, are still intact. And this increases the risk.
And Ukraine will continue to expand the geography of long-range sanctions on enemy territory, in particular, deep in the rear of the Federation. This has been repeatedly announced both by the President's office and the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU. So, there will be more explosions in Russia, and less money. Vladislav Palivoda, We Are Ukraine Marathon.